Oh man, it is not even 7 a.m. here at the Esports Talk office. We are grinding, and thank you all for watching, guys. A crazy thing out there that we kind of dove back on to touch on because it makes for such a great debate and such a great talking point. Lots of responses on the channel as well as on the Twitter accounts about this one. That being Nadeshot on a podcast a while ago, just straight up saying it. He says that FaZe Clan is the most valuable brand in all of gaming, and if you don't think so, that you are an effing idiot. In case you guys missed it, here's a clip.
Success definitely helps my success.
Absolutely.
And vice versa. And it's like, I could only hope. Like, I could only hope that all of us are wildly successful moving on and in the future, because what that means for me is I'm in the same room. We're all in the same boat.
Bro,
so,
exactly. It's like when you see, and Hector can speak on this even more so than I can, but it's like when you see FaZe, you know, you guys raise a bunch of money with Jimmy Iovine, you guys do this beat partnership, you guys announce Verizon. Like, every time that happens, I'm talking, like, this is great for us. Like, them cracking into these Fortune 50, Fortune 500 companies, investing dollars into your guys' brand, I'm like, let's go. All right, they got Verizon, let's go get AT&T.
No, when Forbes drops an article about like leaves us completely off and says that like Liquid is worth like $300 million, I get super stoked on it. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh wow, like
fucking 10 times bigger. Yeah,
big bet, big bet. Okay, this is great.
No, and I will say this:
stuff. Lee's pissed off, like this, like this. Me, I'm sitting there like, this is great.
I'll tell you what,
Liquid is worth.
No, not at all. Hell no, not at all.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And I'm sure they'd agree to an extent like this. And them too, like I hope the most for everybody, honestly, and I genuinely do mean that. Like, I really do.
Well, I will say this: when that got dropped and FaZe wasn't included, I was like, all right, time out. We got to talk about this. All right.
I couldn't believe that.
I could not believe it. Right? I'm like,
we're the villains, bro. We're the bad guys.
It's
like,
insane.
it's just,
in every public forum I've been on, I'm like, no, FaZe is the most valuable esports team.
And I appreciate it.
Well, because
really
people
do.
don't understand like the investors and the management that runs these other teams. They have found success, and a lot of them are really good at what they do in esports, and they're trying to find their way with content and apparel. And I hope they do find success. But at the end of the day, it's like you just cannot compare the audience that FaZe has to any other organization, except in some regards NRG, and then hopefully one day 100 Thieves. Like, we're doing our thing, and
no, you guys are crushing.
Yeah, we've only been around for 3
it,
years, but I look at FaZe Clan for a lot of the things that you guys do as the North Star. Like, if FaZe Clan isn't the most valuable esports organization, and I don't even like to use that word, if FaZe isn't the most valuable brand in gaming right now, and you don't agree to that, you're a idiot. You just don't understand the scope of
I agree with what you're saying too. And that's the thing. That's another reason why the esports thing is a little bitter to me, because
and of course, Petey, as per usual, when we dive back on these kind of things, we love pulling in the audience, their interactions. That's the point of this series. It's the point of, Twitter in general, is all the great interactions. I had that same exact quote, and I put it out on Twitter. I asked for a response from all of you guys as well, and overwhelmingly, the response was, I asked, do you guys agree with Nadeshot? And overwhelmingly, amongst the hundreds of responses, of course, the tweet, well, I mean, a lot of great responses out there as well, was yes. And now that could be people thinking yes. I mean, because let's just make this very clear before we go on to really talk in depth about this. We're not disagreeing here. When it comes time for gaming and entertainment, FaZe Clan is by far the most valuable brand. There's no denying that. When it comes to defining gaming versus esports, that's where there is a bit more of a great talking point. But overwhelmingly, the response was yes, they are the most valuable brand in gaming, and that could be people agreeing with Nadeshot or people just not wanting to be an effing idiot for disagreeing with Nadeshot.
They don't want to get called out by the Nadeshot army.
And so I'm going to read a few responses out there. E-United, John, higher up there, E-United says, not even close. To clarify, they are the most valuable brand, and it's not close. Optic Hitch, we love the guy on this show. What's that
called?
Said
that you are wrong and he will fight you again.
He said, I mean, you really can't dispute that. A lot of other great responses out there simply agreeing with Nadeshot that FaZe Clan is the most valuable. But there are certainly a lot of great points to be made in this when it comes time for defining gaming versus esports, which is ironic because Forbes had the most valuable esports organizations come out every single year, which is widely talked about, which is certainly different from this debate.
Yeah, and because on that list, FaZe was fourth, but I don't know that being fourth on that list means they're not the most valuable brand, because that's also, you got to talk about potential. You got to talk about the future, where things are going. And right now, the only one that's even on their level in terms of the overall appeal of a brand, like how much a brand can go out and do, like the deals they can sign with like NFL, like those kind of like FaZe level deals, like the Man City stuff that FaZe is doing, which is wild, is TSM. And TSM is the only org on that list that has, it's a 50-50 revenue split between esports earnings and just merch and outside partnership stuff. They have that huge League of Legends presence, which is the one market that like FaZe doesn't really tap into.
And imagine if they ever do.
Oh my, if FaZe ever got in a league, it would be wild.
And they tried to. If you guys missed it this
They
past
did
season,
try, yeah.
NRG also would make a huge leap. They tried. FaZe Clan tried. So it seems the LCK, they want LCK teams, not these other brands to come in there. But yes, it was possibly going to come to fruition. I think TSM is a unique one, though, because TSM on that list is one that I saw as possibly overvalued, but I think they have such a brand presence that I probably under-recognize. And they've also made some acquirings for that esports revenue.
A lot of content creators under the wings, a lot of guys that are not just earning money out there by performing in events, but then you got guys like Myth, who don't play for their Valorant team, but are out there just earning tons of money off
being
streams.
a great presence.
Yeah.
And then you think about, for next year, if Daquan and Hamlin's come back, if comes back,
if Miss Hunt succeeds, the Safari for Daquan comes through.
And even on top of that, they've actually acquired some companies. I believe a League of Legends website is one of their main revenue earners, so it is really cool to see. When it comes time for, I guess we should say, for gaming, it is all FaZe Clan. 100 Thieves and FaZe Clan making the biggest jumps. If you want to talk about individual drops, I believe our Discord was talking about this. You cannot compete with FaZe on their collaborations. Man City just one of dozens this year.
I think they had something like just 3 Man City drops alone this year, just for the Man City collab.
Yeah, to give you guys an idea of this, I believe, I would be correct in at least being close to, they had a few dozen more drops than 100 Thieves alone. They do the merch game very well, they collab very well, and they drop with just about any one of their partnerships that they do so choose. And at one point in time, it seemed to be a weekly or bi-weekly basis, so they do a very good job. And you talk about the Forbes earnings list, though, as well. When you talk about 100 Thieves and FaZe Clan, they are only two of a few on that entire list of 10 that have a far majority of their earnings likely from merch and not from esports.
Yeah, and I think the only one on that list that could also, and maybe it's just us being a North American org, we have to give a shout out to your boy, to Carlos, because I feel like if we were more European based, we might maybe throw G2 in the mix, because they've done huge things with BMW. They've done massive sponsorship deals on a scale that maybe even FaZe hasn't quite got to yet.
Okay.
Like it's close, but I don't know that given how much FaZe has done, it's hard to even put G2 quite on that level yet, because FaZe is just, they've got NFL deals, they've got Premier League deals. Like, what haven't they done?
Let me ask you this, because we're not going to give you guys our top 3 most valuable brands in gaming, because I think those 3 can vary a little bit.
Yeah, but it depends on what you mean with value, too.
Yeah, FaZe would be your number 1. Let me ask you, leave FaZe out of this, and let's be fun about this. Let's leave TSM and FaZe both out of this. What are your 3 highest potential brands in gaming? And I'll give you mine off the rip. We're leaving FaZe Clan out. We're leaving TSM out. I will say 100 Thieves, because their model is so close to FaZe, and alongside FaZe, they made the biggest jump. That's my number 1. I will say NRG alongside Optic, and I will say our boy Carlos, G2.
Son of a bitch, that's my entire list. I would start with G2. I think G2's really crushing Europe right now, and their reach is only getting bigger and bigger.
If you're talking strictly esports, yeah,
it's huge. It's massive.
They're doing great things over there.
It's hard. Like you definitely have to put NRG in there. The only weird thing with NRG is what happens with the Optic branding.
Yeah.
Does it count towards NRG? Is it like a subsidiary under Hex?
I think we're assuming it does.
It must. It has to, right? Like there's got anyway. But yeah, definitely NRG's up there, and that last spot is tough. My first instinct is to go with a team like 100 Thieves, or an org like 100 Thieves, just because like they are the only ones close to FaZe with the merch game. But then, oh man, you've still got old standbys like Liquid.
Yep.
And Liquid is still they're still making a lot of money. They're still making like 35, 40 a year.
They're like the Rock.
tough.
They're the Rock in North America.
But I would say I gotta give the slight edge to Steve just because I think
A bit spicier.
yeah, it's also like, you know, one is like the giant who's like maybe slowly coming down off the top of their peak, and one is like the up and comer who's definitely on the rise. And I think they're kind of getting close to meeting, and at some point 100 T is just going to start pulling ahead.
And FaZe too, especially next year's
Oh, absolutely.
Next year's Forbes list very well could be FaZe, 100 Thieves, and now all these other orgs are fighting for the third spot.
Yeah, I'm going to say that FaZe is at least in second on that list when it comes out in about 9 months.
I think I'd agree with you. But what do you guys think about this? You guys can leave a comment down below. Your 3 most valuable brands in gaming, or like me and Pete answered, the 3 with the most potential in the upcoming year or so. And again, we left FaZe and TSM off that. One last question for you guys though. Do you think FaZe is the most valuable brand in gaming, or are you an effing idiot? We'll catch you guys back here in the next one. Take care. It's a bit longer one.
Yeah.